Hello and welcome my friends once again to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now, in the last few days, the national media has been abuzz with reports over Snoop-gate or Pegasus-gate as it's been called, the data leaks from India and across the world that suggest that thousands of phone lines could have been possibly tracked, some of them hacked, using an Israeli spyware called Pegasus. Now, I'm not surprised by the revelations. What I'm surprised is that the number of people I meet who are surprised by these revelations. Because anyone who has been involved in tracking politics in this country professionally, as I have been, can tell you that we've heard about snooping for the longest time. The big Indian state is, as I call it in the title, a snoop state. Surveillance is part of our political culture. Maybe those outside the Delhi Lutyens bubble, as some call it, may be more surprised because their world is different. You know, I was privileged in a way to grow up in Mumbai, a much more innocent city in some way, a city of commerce and not of political intrigue, which is why the Mumbaikar was more interested, how will I catch my 5:40 p.m. fast Virar local? I mean, at best we were more interested in stock market, Dalal Street pe kya ho raha hai, not so much what is happening in Parliament. And it is when I came to Delhi in the early 90s that I realized in a way what this real world of snooping was all about. I recall sometime in 1995 I was tracking the story of JMM MPs, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha MPs, who had allegedly been bribed by the Narasimha Rao government during a vote of confidence at the time. And I was with a CBI officer in a hotel, Ambassador Hotel, which is located near Khan Market, and we were sitting in the restaurant, and halfway through our conversation the officer tells me I have to leave. And later on he told me why. He said, you know, he feared we were being snooped upon. I must confess I was a little surprised. Why would anyone snoop on a CBI officer? Weren't the CBI supposed to snoop on others? And that's when I realized that there is a state within a state, a deep state that in a sense at one level works on surveillance. I was innocent, naive, called me a Mumbaikar in exile in Delhi, but that's what happened then. Truth is, my friends, every government, and we can go back possibly to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as well, has at some time or the other, I'm sure, tracked or spied on what's going on around them. That's the nature of the power game in this country. Indira Gandhi, for example, for certain, during her time, the Intelligence Bureau was almost a parallel power center and was used rather ruthlessly by Mrs. Gandhi to track down her political rivals and even her own ministers. You might recall still later that Ramakrishna Hegde, the Karnataka Chief Minister, lost his job because he was accused at the time of phone tapping his rivals, an accusation that was found out to be true. But it was a more innocent age. You know, it was the age of the good old-fashioned jasoos. At best you had your landline and possibly someone was listening in through a crackle on the other line. You didn't have the mobile which was there with you 24/7 as it is now. So I think the surveillance was, you could argue, a little less intrusive than it is today, and certainly less tech driven and sophisticated at the time. There was a lot of physical tracking as well. You know, remember 1991, Rajiv Gandhi claimed that the Chandrasekhar government was spying on him, and that led to the fall of his government. What was the evidence that Rajiv Gandhi was providing? Two people had been seen outside his residence at 10 Janpat. Later on turned out to be Haryana CID policemen by the name of Raj Singh and Prem Singh. They were posted outside 10 Janpat, and that led to the fall of the Chandrasekhar government. This was the evidence at the time. So it was, in a way, you could argue, an age where spying was also more amateurish. Today, it is far more sophisticated, and it is certainly much more ruthless. This is the age, in a way, of the 21st century, of surveillance becoming far more upgraded, the age of Narendra Modi. And therefore, jasusi is, dare I say, more brazen in both quantitative and qualitative terms. Let me explain a story, and you might have read my book, I hope you have, 2019, How Modi Won India, page 42 of that book. I relate an incident of 2008-9 told to me by a Gandhinagar based journalist Rajiv Shah, confirmed to me by Gujarat IPS officers. This was a time when there was a lot of speculation in Gandhinagar that ministers, officials were all being spied upon by the government. I remember meeting Gordon Zadafia, a rebel leader of the BJP at the time, now back in the party. He was then an opponent of Mr. Modi, and I was to interview him, and he said, please come through the back gate. I said, why? He said, no, somebody will be tracking your movements, and let's not talk on the mobile. So there was a fear factor that was there at the time. And I relate an incident of how then Minister of State for Home in Gujarat, Amit Shah, calls for a meeting of all the top IPS officials and lays out a demonstration of an Israeli phone tapping machine. Mind you, Israeli phone tapping machine. And then I quote him where he says that he tells these officers, you just have to enter a code and then you can listen to any phone conversation you want using this machine. Now, we don't know whether the Gujarat government acquired the machine, but the IPS officers tell me they were frightened. Some of them then got 2 mobile phones, one for official communication, one for personal conversation. And I don't even know whether the spyware used was Pegasus, although it was an Israeli company that was doing the demo. But the fact is that even then, the Gujarat government was considering in 2008-9, 12 years ago, the possibility of acquiring Israeli spying equipment. This, some would say, intrusive Gujarat model has now gone national. The old style jasoos monitoring your movements is replaced by this new age technology which can be used to track your life using the telephone, using the mobile, or infiltrating your mobile and tracking you 24/7. The Pegasus list suggests that at least in India there were 300 people who were persons of interest. Doesn't mean all their phones were being hacked or tracked, but I am actually willing to bet that, forget 300, many more people at any given time are part of the IB or the security agency network's surveillance state. Much of this is being carried out outside the state machinery, official state machinery. So even the Minister of IT or Law may not know at any given time whose phone is being snooped upon. There is, in that sense, despite what the government says, an element of unauthorized snooping that goes on in this country. The official reason for any phone tap will be given as national security. The real reason is that a powerful state and its leadership is deeply insecure and, yes, authoritarian. What's changed is that we moved from Gandhinagar to New Delhi, from Gordon Zadafia to, dare I say, a Rahul Gandhi. This Snoop state, my friends, is not just a violation of individual privacy as it's being made out to be. It's an assault on our democracy, our democratic and personal freedoms. The question really is, my friends, do we as a people, as citizens, really care enough about the right to privacy, about a disfigured democracy, to make a noise about this issue? Or are we so caught up in our own lives, day-to-day existence, especially in COVID times, to worry about concepts of accountability and thereby allow those in power to get away with what prima facie would be seen as an act of criminality? Let me confess that as a journalist, I was actually a tad disappointed to find that my name is not there in this Pegasus list as a potential target. Not for any other reason, but the fact that, I am pretty certain that there has been someone out there snooping on me. And I am also seen by some as an anti-national journalist. It's a professional hazard and one that I've learned to live with over the years. In fact, my friends, it's the normalization of this surveillance state that should trouble us all. This concept of people saying, ye to hota hi hai. Look at Congress ruled Rajasthan, there are allegations of phone tapping. Pranab Mukherjee, when he was a UPA minister, claimed that his office was bugged. Now it's the BJP ruled centre which is facing such accusations. No, my friends, this whataboutery must stop. Hacking is a crime. Spying on people in this matter without authorization is a crime. and we must see it for that. And we as citizens, as institutions in this country, whenever this happens, must be ready to fight back and demand a minimal level of accountability. If France, where its president is under the scanner of so-called hacking, is ordering a probe, why can't we do one in India? I mean, what is it that the Indian state wants to hide by living in denial and shooting the messenger, i.e. the journalist? We are a strong state, aren't we? We have nothing to fear. I hope so. Think about it. That was the Straight Bat. For many more such videos, you can of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. For now, thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Namaskar, Jai Hind.